So yesterday, we were going to discuss an article that got posted by an SRK staff member who was discussing why SRK wasn't updated anymore and how, yeah, it's just not really a popular website anymore. I think there's a few reasons why, obviously. Fighting games has generally moved away from forums. I mean, most of the world has moved away from forums and onto Twitter or Facebook. If you want to find fighting game information for your local scene, really the best place to do it a lot of the times is Facebook. The other thing about fighting games besides just Facebook is you find it on Twitter and you find them on Discord. Those are the three main locations you find fighting game content. It used to be that you'd go to a website like SRK. You go to SRK, they have forums available, they write articles about all kinds of different fighting game stuff. I used to check out SRK all the time. Even when I got into fighting games, they were still pretty common. You go to all these places and talk on forums, and nowadays that's not a thing anymore. But besides that, SRK has just had less articles in general lately. And this is an article written by Luke, who is, I think, a former SRK writer now. From what I gathered from this audience, he has another job now that he works full-time. Essentially, this article goes into why SRK stopped uploading and kind of some of the situations that were going on with it and everything. And, basically, the most important points you'll probably hit on here is that if you recall, back in 2016, there was the call for writers. That's kind of loud, huh? We want more people to be posting on Shoryuken. We want more writers. We want more people to be going on, etc., 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 right? Is that loud? Okay, I'll turn it off. Yeah, I had to fight that Roomba to the death. Okay, so, yeah, we were running a Roomba, and that's all. We have dogs. There's a lot of fur. Back to Shoryuken. So they made a call for writers back in 2016, and they said there was a bunch of new people. The article says 8 to 10 new contributors who were writing on the site. And I thought that was cool. I remember back when SRK started to get more and more posts, and there was it was much more common that people were posting on there. And then in the last few months or so, maybe the last 6 months, it seems like SRK has had less and less people posting on it. One of the reasons that I think is if you read right here, it says with each article receiving pretty much the same payout as long as it met a minimum word count. There wasn't always an incentive to write long pieces. So yeah, even the next sentence I guess is important. I will be the first to admit that I took advantage of that, but I definitely became conscious of churning out overly simplistic posts. So SRK hired all these writers and they said, hey, you guys are going to get paid by the article. You got to just hit this word count. And, essentially at that point, it's everybody's well, if I hit exactly 300 words or whatever it is, right, and I get paid for my work based on that, I'm going to just do 300 words, 300 words, 300 words, and keep pumping out these articles. And I can totally see why that would happen, right? Because they talk about how the money for this isn't particularly, high. But if you're putting out enough articles, you're probably getting enough money that you feel okay, well, if I can at least write 4 or 5 of these articles a week, then, I'll be fine. So you just start thinking of okay, well, there's a YouTube video on this. And they discuss that kind of how that's sort of what it turned into, where they were shit, well, we need something. There's a YouTube video. Post the YouTube video, write up a text, block about this YouTube video and what it is. Go to the next article, write about this. You sort of always go for the same thing over and over just to get the article out. And there's no incentive to writing longer posts. And to be honest with you, I think in general, there probably isn't. I can't think of very many fighting game articles that are extremely long that people would want to read, So I don't even blame the writers necessarily for this, because I think it's probably pretty likely that if you put out these super long, highly detailed, thought pieces about fighting games or analysis or whatever it is, the chances of people reading them are probably not that high. It's for an even smaller audience of our already probably small audience of people who are willing to read articles instead of watching it in some other medium or looking on Reddit or Twitter or whatever, right? The glitch article was neat. Yeah, it was really cool. It is a long article though, and getting a lot of people to read it compared to, a YouTube video of Maximilian talking about something or a YouTube video of me talking about something. SRK has used my videos many times before. And the thing is that I love it when SRK or another website like Event Hubs or whatever uses my video in an article. I see a noticeable jump in viewers pointed to the video and in viewership usually when they do it. So I'm not going to complain about it, and it drives people towards videos which has content that's already interesting. But then at the same point, you end up just with SRK ushering people to videos and other stuff like that instead of having stuff on their site that makes people want to come there and read it. But then there's a discussion that after that that's essentially SRK was cool. I got to write about fighting games, which I really enjoyed, but without insurance and a good wage, you couldn't only do SRK. So eventually, there came the point where he had to move on and try to find another gig. And I think that seems like a lot of the writing staff has sort of had the same issues, where there's not enough money for them to justify doing what they do. And even if they try to pump out lots of articles, they sort of feel the hit in quality. And then at that point, it's like, well, I'm writing articles that I probably don't love, that are probably not as quality as I'd like to write about something I'm actually interested in writing about. And the money is also not great. So it's like a combination of like all these bad things that add up, right? Which is not even it's not their intention. It's not what they're just trying to do. It's just the way it works with how that kind of system was structured. It's tough. I mean, in these days, I feel like mediums like this, you really have to sort of do one of two things. You have to do what he described, which is point towards videos and stuff, which people prefer to look at and everything. I don't know why the pivot to video content has become so big. It's on every single news website that you read. You click on a CNN article, or you click on a MSNBC or whatever article, you click on any gaming website, you click on any news website anywhere, and it starts with a paragraph in the beginning, and then the whole article has a video, and then the rest of the article goes on. But really, the whole article's in that video, and it's like, that's just the way news is delivered these days, right? I think maybe they could have adjusted by making the videos themselves instead of pointing to outside videos. That's maybe something they could have tried, but I thought it was interesting. On top of this, there was a thread by Tom Cannon that he posted here, and I thought I'd read that. I actually haven't read the Tom Cannon part. So he says, I'll chime in from the business perspective, as somebody who owns lots of different things in fighting games, including SRK. And says SRK flourished from 2000 to 2012 era as a central place to talk about the strategy and subculture of fighting games. Our forums were a great alternative to GameFAQs or Usenet. And also, what did Anton say earlier? NeoGAF or something? Yeah, I mean, in general, I think forums were much more popular in this era, to be honest with you. I still remember using forums in this era. Around 2012, the major platforms, Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube, started siphoning away SRK's forum-based audience. Fighting game conversations were increasingly being held on these platforms and less on SRK. At this point, Kaneda suggested a big strategic shift to curated content. This is where the SRK front page came from. He also landed us an advertising partner so we could pay our editors. Yeah, I remember when SRK started using the front page, and this was like a big thing before, after the forums, and having tons of articles and content on there. He discusses some of it here. Around the time, folks like Kaneda, Keats, Mushin Z worked hard to increase the quality of content. They did like the Wake Up SRK, and they did all the articles that were coming out there. Also, Ian was working here at the same time, right? Our execution wasn't perfect, but we had the right mindset. Hire great writers and pay them for their efforts. So what happened? A few years ago, SRK got hit by a double whammy. First, a general softening of the web-based ad market, but much more importantly, ad block. These two combined cut SRK revenue by 90% over the course of 6 months. At this point, SRK was losing thousands of dollars a month. We couldn't afford to keep the forums up or pay our writers. I remember that, actually, when that was a big point. Thanks to Discourse, we were able to port the forums to a much more affordable platform, but unfortunately, we had to essentially shut down the front page. So today, SRK is more or less dormant. A few folks have pitched ideas about how to reboot the site. I'm open to the idea if someone has a clear vision for how SRK can provide value that players aren't getting today through existing platforms. If you take anything at all from this thread, please support your content creators, disable ad block, like and subscribe, ring the bell. Yeah, no one likes ads. I get you. I understand. Nobody likes that shit. I have ad block too. I turn off ad block when I watch different people, and ad block doesn't really work on Twitch these days, which is great because that means I can just watch ads for people and give them money. But I understand. A lot of people use ad block. It's very common. It is a nemesis for a lot of people, right? It's for every content creator, they are super mad that ad block exists, and then they turn off their stream or their YouTube or whatever else, and then they're like, shit, I need an ad block. But yeah, that's the thing is, like, I think in these days, most people, instead of hitting them with regular ads, would be happier with some kind of way to support the content that they're reading outside of that. So Delriac writes another article about it. I see a lot of people talking about SureYouCan.com. Cool opportunity, I guess, but also absolutely insulting. Racing to snag articles before other writers. Pay at the time. Yeah, that was something that got brought up in the first article, by the way. Was that the only way? Luke was like, look, if I'm going to make more money, I could try to just fill up the front page with all of my stuff, but I'd be undermining all the other writers there. So you have to give everybody else space and not just, post a shit ton of stuff. Pay at the time was only for top articles of the month. Original articles were $10 a piece. My time was worth more. So what? If you write 5 articles a week, you're getting $50 a week. There was obvious publisher politics going on that prevented certain types of articles from being written. Sucked the energy away from even wanting to bring up ideas. Was easier and more beneficial to just post a Maximilian video and guarantee a few dollars a month. Yeah, I mean, the Maximilian video is going to get a lot of clicks. It's clearly what needs to happen. I don't think people realize how difficult and time consuming the amount of work is. Always had to be on, had notifications for everything. You're always stressed out. This led to quick burnout and shitty copy pasta articles. I came in during the same wave of writers like Ian, and I really don't know how he was able to continue going for as long as he did with all the obvious BS that existed. It was an extremely depressing time till I just decided to stop doing it because it wasn't worth it. By this point, I was an outsider looking in, but it was obvious that there were some toxic people hating on Ian. As far as I could tell, SRK didn't do anything to ever shut those people down at all, just let him take the abuse, all while they benefited from his work. Maybe I just expected more. As far as I'm aware, Evo hasn't even commented on any of the issues that happened during their own damn event, so why would I expect them to protect its writers? But please buy their merch. What a community leader. So yeah, if SRK or Evo is wondering why people stop caring about their site or constantly give them shit, I feel like it's pretty simple. You failed its community and ignored its issues instead of being the leader you claim to be. We are in an environment where there are mass shootings every week, and there are people in the FGC making real threats to other players. SRK should be standing up against that shit ASAP. You don't know what someone may or may not do, even when a rando does after seeing it. But nothing. There's absolutely silence. Again, what a great community leader. Why would anyone think that they could be safe when obvious toxic ass shit is allowed and never once condemned? But hey, infiltration had a triumphant return apparently. This is a scorching set of tweets from Isaac. This last bit was interesting. I didn't expect that to creep up in here. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's a few issues, right? Besides just things like what Isaac or Luke brought up and the business side of things with Tom, where he's bringing up the loss in ad revenue from everything. It sounds like there's a big kind of ball of frustration and discourse about all the things that happen with SRK and their staff. I'm not really that familiar with any of that, to be honest with you. I was looking at this and I was interested in talking about this today in terms of what could be done to improve something like this website or make it so that something like SRK would do well again. It's hard, right? Because I think like now people consume media in so many different places. The thing is, SRK, instead of doing forums, has to have like a Discord in this year, right? Like SRK has to have a Discord, and SRK needs like a YouTube where they post like video content and articles, and they need a Twitter feed that keeps everything updated, and they, you know, like they need to spread to all these other platforms to do things well, and that takes a ton of time and effort. And if you're gonna make a website that is just all the information you need about fighting games or SRK in one place, it has to be really good, because these days people are everywhere. They're not just on like one website looking for information and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, did you see this fighting game tech I got posted on Reddit? Oh, did you see this thing? Yeah, I found this on Twitter. Some Japanese guy posted some tech for Poison. Oh, did you see that thing? Yeah, someone linked it to me in Discord. I'll go post it in this Discord. Or, oh, it was in the new Challengers Discord. Or, oh, it was in the Street Fighter Discord. You're not in that Street Fighter Discord? No, not that one, the other one. Yeah, it's complicated. I mean, there's a reason that why for me, you know, I have a Twitter that I promote my stuff on, I tweet on and do stuff like that. It's just like my most used social media, and then I have a YouTube channel, a Twitch channel, and a Discord that are all places where I post stuff. You can find all the stuff you need to know about me on 4 different places. I mean, the thing is about most Discords is usually mute them and then just read back through them when you want, unless it's something that you really want to know about every notification that happens. You mute the Discord and then you check it yourself when you want to read through it. Does anybody have that link? I posted a while ago. That was a really great collection of like 700 fighting game Discords. This is the FGC Discord Compendium. This thing is incredibly useful. I'm probably going to bookmark this after this. It's got over 700 fighting game Discords the last time I checked. It was over 770 or something. There's regional servers, global community servers, master list, which has all of the Discords. Look at this. Right now it's at 844 Discords. And you can separate it by like, you know, character servers for different games. So if you're interested in one of these games and you want to know about some character, you can find information in here. Game-specific servers, regional servers. So if you're from, you know, Italy and you want to find an Arc System Works Italia Discord that discusses these games right here. They even have it coded up at the top here so you can find all this. This is like, you know, when you think about SRK and like how they were discussing what they're supposed to do. I mean, look at this. You have 800 Discords worth of fighting game information. How is SRK's front page supposed to sort through the amount of information that's out there for fighting games, right? Is there a Discord for the Sajam hair tech? Yes. That's discord.gg/hoop squad. Because it's a partner Discord, if you type that into your browser or hit !Discord in the channel right now, it'll show up. And that's the vanity URL that'll take you directly to my Discord that is filled with all kinds of lovely human beings who would love to discuss fighting games with you. Damn, I got baited. Hell yeah, you did. Welcome to the club. Stuff like SRK, I don't know what they would do in the modern era. Even for me, like, You know, the way I work as a human is that a lot of the stuff that I create is because I wish somebody else would have created it. And I've talked about a lot before. The reason I started doing commentary was because I thought that a lot of commentators at the time when I was watching were not doing the kind of commentary I wanted. I was like, I need more analysis in this commentary. I need people to like actually be focused on the game that they're commentating and like the game they're commentating and do a good job. So I was like, well, I'm going to try it. Because at the time I was just a YouTuber and I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. So I started doing a little bit of commentary and I wanted to do it more and more and more. And then it became my job and now it's what I do for a living. Then a while ago, I was like, you know, I really want more fighting games to have more podcasts and more content on YouTube and stuff. So then, you know, I linked up with Moste. We started working on the YouTube channel again. And now my Twitch, essentially, and my YouTube by extension, is sort of just a daily fighting game podcast, right? Like what we're doing right now is discussing fighting game topics and conversations and podcast, like essentially podcasting about fighting games. It's what my Twitch channel has sort of turned into because I wish that there was more of a daily fighting game podcast out there that discuss things that I would like. So now it's like also something I do every day on my stream. So it's also become my job. Funny how that works, right? Where it's like, for me, when stuff doesn't exist and I want it to exist, I'm like, well, how do I figure out a way for that to happen? How can I either enable someone else to do it or do it myself? Even for like my YouTube channel, I don't have time to cut and edit and do all that YouTube stuff with everything else that I do. So Moss handles it. And that enables someone else to have a job that they can be like, all right, well, cool. I'm going to handle all this YouTube shit and get paid in the YouTube bucks, which is not great, but it's getting better, actually. It's getting better.